Well, welcome back to Finding Traction. And today I want to share one of the tools that has helped me probably more than a lot of tools, any other tool in my recovery. But it's one of the tools that has probably resulted in the most resistance from other guys when I share it. So today I want to revisit that tool, and I want to hopefully reframe it in a different approach, using a different metaphor, and perhaps you will see this tool in a more approachable light, a more beneficial light for yourself. So today we get into that tool. Welcome aboard.
Guys ready?
When it comes to porn, are you stuck, spinning out, or slipping backwards in your life? If so, then welcome to the Finding Traction podcast, a show dedicated to those who are looking to gain recovery momentum away from porn and toward the life and relationships they have always hoped for. Now, here's your host, Vern Tomke.
Well, before we talk today about my resisted tool, let me once again say I enjoy connecting with guys and helping guys, really giving them some of the hope and some of the tools that have been helpful for me in my journey out of an addiction to porn. And again, I love to connect with guys. My email is bandofbrothers, that's bandofbrothers, that's plural, .care, .care, @gmail.com. And it really is a chance for me to connect with guys. Often I love to just meet guys one-on-one in a Zoom and just say, how can I help you? How can I help you in finding traction, help you in walking away from porn? You've obviously come to a point where you're saying, this is no longer serving me, and you need help. You might be stuck. And whether it's individual coaching or whether we can get you into one of the groups that I run, whether we can connect you with the Finding Traction material, it really is an honor for me to work with guys and again impart some of the hope that from my journey and my experience. So again, I'd love to hear from you. So let's go back to this tool that I have described for you and that has been really, I guess guys hear me share it and go, gee, I don't know if that's for me. And the tool that I'm talking about is a tool called Consequences and Rewards. And the way we've done the tool has really been done this way. And don't worry, I'm going to reapproach this and maybe give you a different vantage point on this. But this is the way we've traditionally done it. We've basically helped guys to say, what I want you to do is I want you to come up with something that says, when I act out, when I relapse, when I violate my boundaries, I will visit the following negative consequence on my week to remind me that this is not the better version of myself. And of course, we've done it in the positive light as well. When I follow my boundaries, when I have a great week, for example, then I will reward myself by these set of actions. It's always funny. I always, you think guys would really gravitate to the rewards part and say, man, I love that idea. But it's funny that over the years, I've found that guys have a really difficult time rewarding themselves. So it's on one hand, guys have found the idea of giving themselves a tangible tangible reward, something that's hard for them to come up with. And then they really sometimes balk at the idea of, a consequence. And I get it. Sometimes the guys I work with have an overdeveloped sense of shame. One of the things behind porn addiction is this belief that you are a bad, unworthy person. And perhaps it's an upbringing that you were, shamed a lot. And, the idea of a consequence feels really punitive. So I can see the hesitation around that point. Actually, it's funny. One of the guys, one of my Australian buddies said they've changed the name from penal institutions to correctional institutions. But he said, I don't buy it. It still is all about punishment. I think in Canada we call them correctional institutions. So it still feels punitive or punishment rather than correctional per se. But so again, I have found that a helpful tool for me. And bear with me today because I want to maybe present some of this in a bit of a different light. And to introduce it, I want to go to a different set of actions that I follow every week. It has to do with my use of reminders. Now, I, throughout the week, am doing a whole pile of different things. I'm coaching guys in groups. I've got individual sessions. I go in a day or two a week and I teach at high school. I'm dropping my wife off at work. I got to pick her up at different times. And I've got all sorts of different things that come up in my week, things that I just can't forget. And I, like a lot of you, have learned the secret of using my smartphone. This is one place where your smartphone really helps after my last, podcast on, my smartphone's making me dumb kind of thing. But this is where smartphones have really saved my bacon, is I set reminders for everything. And not only I set reminders with alerts. So all of a sudden, whenever my phone goes off with that alert sound, I immediately go, what am I missing? What do I got to do? Oh, I got a group in half an hour. I usually use a half an hour reminder. So my reminders go off and it's the alerts tell me I got a group in a half an hour. So to this point, I think I've only missed one group and, in 2 years, I think that's pretty good. That has been super helpful for me in terms of that. Now, using that idea of a tool, I want to submit to you that perhaps what we've traditionally called consequences and rewards, we reframe that to be positive and negative reminders. What do I mean by that? Well, here's why I think a reminder is so good. And let's start with the idea of a positive reminder. Now, when you are tracking with your recovery, let's say you have a really successful number of days, or let's say a week. Well, here's the challenge with walking out your recovery. It's not like all of a sudden when you are taking positive steps in your recovery, all of a sudden life just doesn't go great all of a sudden. The birds don't come out, and the sun doesn't shine all the time. Even your wife may not greet you like a college cheerleader going, I'm so happy that you're actually doing the very thing you promised me that you would do on our wedding day. You might not be getting great kudos there. So you're doing all of this work, and sometimes the benefits are unseen or hidden. Generally I'm feeling better. Maybe I'm some of that brain fog is dissipating. Some of those images or videos or memories are fading a little bit, but it doesn't feel concrete enough. It's still, and then you have a really bad day or really, a day when I say a bad, you're really struggling and you're struggling with your recovery and you're going, gee, I don't know if this is worth it. It's hard for me to measure this. It's hard for me to make this tangible, concrete. And here's where a positive reminder is really helpful. When you reach a certain point, let's say on a weekly basis, and you've navigated through your recovery, you've been relatively successful. At one level, you go, I had a good week. I've been doing my active commitments. I was checking in with guys. I went to group, whatever that is. You know what? I navigated those those compulsive, obsessive thoughts pretty well. It's been a good week. But why do I still, I don't feel like sometimes I'm getting anywhere? Those are the times when this habit of a positive reminder comes in. And you go, every week that I do this, or every whatever time period you set, I will remind myself that I'm on the right track. I will go, kudos, well done, attaboy kind of thing. And again, I've had guys that have done all sorts of concrete reminders. One of my guys, he loves these hot dogs from Chicago. I don't know what it is. There's these special hot dogs from Chicago. He ordered himself a whole bunch to be shipped to where he lives. And every Friday night, when he's reminding himself of the benefits of his recovery, he will look forward to Friday night when he goes in and he prepares this special Chicago hot dog, which says, you know what? This is the man I'm becoming. This is the sort of thing that I want to, it's a reminder. It's tangible. It's a positive reminder. So you see how that works? Again, that might not be as tough a sell for you as the next one. The next one is I am changing or reframing the idea of a negative consequence to the idea of a negative reminder. Now, here is why this is so important. If you choose willingly, intentionally to violate the terms of your recovery, so to speak, some of those behaviors that you have said are off base for you, well, here's the crazy thing. You don't see oftentimes immediate, external, concrete consequences, implications of your behavior. Let's flip the hot dog thing. Let's say every time you ate a hot dog, you automatically gained 5 pounds. Now I'm making the hot dog a bad thing here, but let's say every time you did something, you immediately experience the consequences. I eat this hot dog or this great burger from Red Robin, and I will be 5 pounds heavier. Most of us probably would say, I think, unless we're seriously malnourished, which probably none of us are in a first world country, most of us would say, I think I'll bypass that hot dog or that burger. But this doesn't happen. We have our greasy burger or our hot dog, and we don't gain 5 pounds, right? We decide to look at porn. We decide to violate our recovery, the things that we say, I've done this, but I know this is not in my best interest. And oftentimes there's no immediate result. The sky doesn't fall. Whether we hide our behavior or not, we oftentimes do not see the immediate change. And that's why it's so difficult. Most of these long-term results of, our porn behaviors are over long-term. We become more distant from, our spouse. We become more distant from ourselves in the sense of we start shutting down parts of ourselves. We feel more distant from God. Whatever that is, the bottom line is these results, implications are not immediate. They're not tangible. They're not concrete. So what I've learned to do is I had learned to set into my life a concrete negative reminder. And so I've shared this one before, but it's worth repeating. What I had told myself was, you know what? If I choose to look at porn, maybe nobody will know. But it will end up surely a little bit after a little bit take me away from where I want to be, who I want to be. So I am going to remind myself that this is not the version of myself that I want to see develop. So what I did is I basically said, if I end up acting out, I will choose to volunteer at our local food bank. Now in our town, they had there's a supper that's served every night, and to indigenous homeless population kind of thing, so I could go down there on any night and help serve. But I'll tell you something. I hate going out in the evenings. Maybe it's my years from being in church life. I don't know. I hate evening meetings. I hate evening appointments. And so, me and my wife have a joke. The zombies come out after 5 p.m. And so, but I told myself, if I knowingly, intentionally violate, if I step over that line and into activities that are against my recovery, I will, by the weekend, within a week, I will take a night and I will go down and volunteer that evening preparing and serving supper. Now, guess what? Literally, there were times where that reminder was attached to that behavior that I didn't want to indulge in. And I would literally sometimes go, I could act out here, but then I am going to go and take a night of my week and do, and serve at the food bank. I'm sorry. Sometimes that's all it took. It was a negative reminder of that's not something I want to do. If I go down there, I'll go down there on my free choice. I don't want to, So anyways, it was a negative reminder for me. Let me throw one other thing as well. One of the things that I've heard guys say is, you know what, this resulted in far more negative behavior. I've worked with guys that have lost close relationships because of compulsive sexual behaviors like porn, lost maybe their role in their jobs. And this is the one thing I've heard, I didn't realize, if I realized the implications of my behavior, I probably wouldn't, and where this was going to take me, I probably wouldn't have continued down this road, because the point is, we never know what it's going to cost. It's intangible. You might not lose your job. If you get caught at work, you might not, but you might. You might not lose your marriage. You might not lose the respect. I don't know. You're not able to pre-control where the results of your behaviors go, which some guys have said, this cost me far more than I ever realized it would. In other words, that's outside of your control. Eventually, you can't dictate, you can't control the implications of your behavior and say, well, I know I got caught or this happened, but this is how I want it to go. You know what? You lose control at that point. You can't tell your partner, well, this is how I want you to treat me and how I want you to respond to me. So you just say, screw you. No, it doesn't work that way. And having a negative reminder in my life is something I control. I tell myself I can control whether or not I need to go out this extra night this week. So, again, I'm just telling you what's worked for me. Now, I use the old language of rewards and consequences. Maybe it helps for you to reframe that as positive and negative reminders. All I'll say is this: if you don't have any implications of your behaviors, positive or negative, it's easy, so frickin' easy to tell yourself, this little bit won't hurt. It won't matter. A few more, this doesn't really matter. And as a result, that's the deception. That's the lie that continues you down that road. And this is one of the best tools that I know to get deeply honest and real with yourself and go, it all matters. And I remind myself that it matters, both in a positive and negative way. So, I'd love to hear back from you. I'd love to hear what you maybe think of that, if it's helpful for you or not, or if, I don't even mind pushback, pushback on it, whatever it is. Again, it's bandofbrothers.care@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.